Hi, everyone. Welcome to another very exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. Delighted on this episode to be joined by someone whose work has been compared to none other than Jerry Craft, and that person is Tony Weaver. Do you prefer Tony Weaver or Tony Weaver Jr.?
So I don't have a preference. My dad prefers Tony Weaver Jr. If I
Oh,
get mail and it says Tony Weaver on it, he's like, "This is mine. I don't. this belongs to me."
that's some supreme like Amazon shipping grabbing right there. If you get a really nice package and he's like, "Nope, sorry, it's mine."
Yep. I have returned home many a time to find packages that have just been like opened, rifled through. He's like, "I have my name on it. I thought it was mine. I don't know. I mean, it's all in there. You can have it, but I thought it was mine."
Then we will definitely include the junior, if nothing else, to please family, because that is important. It's absolutely
Very
important.
much so. Very much so.
You have a graphic novel that's on the way, I believe, as of this date. We're recording in June, but it's being released in September, and that is the book Weirdo. Is this true?
Yes, Weirdo today is actually officially 3 months until release. So September 17th, Weirdo, the nerdy kids instruction manual for self-love and self-confidence will be on shelves. My publisher sent me a few of these. I have like maybe
Love that.
three.
hmm
Um,
hmm
so I have a handful of them, like literally a handful of them
Yes.
that I have. But really excited to see it on shelves.
Yeah, yeah. What's it like to hold up that product? Because I know that graphic novels take a lot of work and a lot of time.
Yeah, graphic novels take a lot of work and a lot of time. The illustrators that worked on this, Jessica and Jacinta, are just kind of extremely talented. Um, and I think collectively, uh, a lot of time, love, and effort went into every element of this book. And I think that when I held it in my hands, that was the big thing that kind of popped up for me. As the person that's kind of like responsible for the words, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm very clear about, I remember during the lettering process, um, I worked with our publisher, and I worked in a way that was a little unorthodox because, in addition to Weirdo, I write a series called The Uncommons. It actually comes back to Webtoon on Wednesday of this week. So on Juneteenth, the Uncommons will return. And in the Uncommons, when we letter, I'm making edits down until we publish, like down until that thing is publicly visible. I'm looking and I'm like, we can move this over a little bit here. We can move this over a little bit here. So when we were lettering, I was going and looking at and kind of looking at the script and saying, "Ooh, we need SFX of this. It'd be nice if we had some SFX here, like an onomatopoeia here or there."
Mhm.
And they were like, "You did not put that in the script." And I was like, "Oh, was I supposed to? Oh, my bad." I'm not accustomed to working with this workflow. In my workflow, when my team and I do it, it's like, listen, it's not done until it's on the page and people can go read it. Until it's at that point, everything is fair game. But this one we had to be a little bit more strategic. Like everything kind of had to get done in advance, waiting for printers and stuff like that. So it feels good. It feels good.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. And uh, curious, it sounds like you're a person who is very much an organizer, management type of person. How did you connect with storytelling? How did you kind of get drawn to that particular focus?
Well, I think that for me, ironically, I am not a very organized person. This shelf is probably the most organized thing in my life. This is real. This is not a virtual
That's very
a virtual
nice.
background. But this shelf is probably the most organized thing in my life. I think stories were able to grab my attention in a way that nothing else did. When I was younger, I think I had a lot of trouble communicating with people. Just in general, it was difficult for me to connect. And stories kind of gave me something to connect to and also
Mhm.
helped me connect with others. So in my brain, when I think about storytelling, I think about a lot of it as like math. Like when I'm writing, I feel like I'm a mathematician. I feel like it's science. The characters that I'm developing, the interactions that they are having, in many ways play out in the same way that a chemical reaction would if you were doing a lab experiment. You take resentment plus understanding and you hope that the kind of end goal, if we proportioned everything out properly, then the end goal is peace.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then the end product is kind of resolution. if you will. So I've always looked at stories as like people are playing emotional tennis. That
Mhm.
ball's bouncing back and forth, back and forth, and that's always really intrigued me.
What's it like to design and create with the graphic novel in mind?
So visual mediums have always been super engaging to me.
Hmm.
And I think that graphic novels have this unparalleled ability to help people develop empathy because in order for you to read it and consume it, you have to put yourself in someone else's shoes. We are seeing the world through the point of view of a character that we might not have everything in common with, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
there is this opportunity to say, well, how do we leverage that visually? I can play around a bit with my words. And frankly, when I started writing Weirdo, I was leaning into my words so much. When I pitched it, I was like, I want it to be 70% graphic novel, 30% prose. Because my idea was there are some things that I just am not going to be able to communicate visually. And my publisher, I don't think was a fan of the idea, but they also just gave me space to work. I like they trusted me. The idea was, I think that internally they were like, I hope he doesn't go along with that. They were also like, we'll give him enough space. And if he goes and plays enough, he'll realize that he doesn't necessarily need the words. So learning to lean into those images a lot are one of my favorite things. I like color a lot. So in
Hmm.
Weirdo, one thing is that every chapter has a different color.
Oh,
Um,
love it. Yeah.
so and those colors kind of say something about the mental state of our main character, what's going on in the story at the time. There's a point in time where he goes to a school called Green Trails Academy, so that whole chapter is green. Everybody's got on green blazers, green uniforms, the trees are green. His primary color in chapter one is red because that's his favorite color. And there is a character in the book that I don't want to spoil too much.
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
there's a character that we are led to not like very much when they appear, but that character's primary color is red, and
Hmm.
our protagonist's primary color is red. So there's something being communicated about the common ground between those two that visually you can pick up on before before the story kind of plays it out. I
Mm.
love doing stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's lots of fun and lots of fun to pick up on and then to go back and kind of appreciate in retrospect too if there are things that you miss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned kind of the subtitle of the book and exploring awareness of self and mental health. Anything that you'd like to say about the inspiration, the themes that you hope people notice in the book?
Well, I mean, Weirdo is a memoir. It's my life story. So I'm really kind of cutting myself open and saying, hey, uh, here is a story that if you are a young person that's struggling with belonging, struggling to identify who you are, and struggling to love what you see when you look in the mirror, this is something that I feel like can help you. So
Hmm.
all of those themes of self-confidence, self-esteem, making friends, communicating with others, learning how to identify and protect the things that bring you joy, these are all lessons that I had to learn for myself that I wish someone had given me kind of like a treasure map for, that I wish somebody had like kind of guided me along the trail for. And Weirdo is intended to be uh, that helping hand for kids as they navigate all of that stuff.
Love it. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that and thanks for the bravery of sharing of yourself and your life in a graphic novel, where you're not only using words, but as you mentioned, you're using images and depictions of spaces to communicate ideas too.
Yeah, I mean, it gets really personal.
Yeah.
I'm not shy about the fact that I'm a suicide survivor. Weirdo does kind of talk about that. It goes into that. And for my parents, them reading it, it was interesting seeing their reactions because they caught some of the details from my childhood. But there were also scenarios where they were like, you didn't tell me this. I didn't know that this happened. Where was I when this took place?
Hmm.
Um, like even now, this kind of sense of like, I had no idea that you were experiencing that. And I think putting all that out there is really important because that vulnerability is what is going to beget vulnerability from readers.
Yeah.
As the storyteller, I put the story forward and make this decision to say, listen, I'm going to tell you everything. It's not going to be pretty, not for the whole time anyway, but we're going to make it out on the other side. That's one of the things that makes me really happy. Jason Reynolds wrote a blurb for the book, and he
Mm-hmm.
said that it was a triumphant story. And that was something that was really important to me because there are a lot of people that would write a book about mental health, about overcoming depression and anxiety, and it'd just be a really, really dark book. Like it'd
Yeah.
just be an exercise in the many ways that I could make you sad.
Right, right.
It'd just be like a master class in pulling you into very deep emotional lows. And that's not what Weirdo is. It's a happy story. It's a triumphant story. It's a victorious story. It's a story of love and friendship and acceptance. And it is there as a result of overcoming those dark feelings.
Oh, yeah, well, awesome, and great to have kind words from Jason Reynolds as well. Just a master writer, and somebody that has dealt with issues of mental health and various topics in his writing as well.
Yeah, I think one thing that I'm really grateful for throughout this whole process is that a lot of people I really admire, Jerry Craft, Jason Reynolds, Jared Krasoska, Raina Telgemeier, all accepted me with open arms when they
Mhm.
heard about what I was making. There was never a moment for them where they were like, yeah, no, I don't think I have time for that. It was just very, if that's what you're doing, how can I help? How can I be a support? And I think when you have people like that in your corner, interested in your story and giving their honest opinions on it, because all of them, they're like, listen, they're like, I'll read it, but if I don't like it, you're gonna know that I don't like it, and you
Yeah.
just got to be okay with that. And I'm like, well, that's what I want. That's a feedback. That's a feedback that I'm looking for. So hearing that it resonated with them was pretty huge.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I have one or two more official questions that are on the list, but just want to say that I hope lots of folks get this book in their hands, school libraries and classroom libraries, and um, lots of young readers. What's it like, and what kind of thinking do you go through when you're writing for? And I hesitate to say writing for young readers because I don't think the book is only for young readers. I think it's from young to any stage of adulthood, anybody that wants to dig in and enjoy.
Well, I think that Weirdo is certainly a book that can resonate with people of all ages. I think with you and also with young readers, my opinion might not be very popular, but I'm like, I don't pull any punches for young readers. When
Mhm,
I was in the
mhm.
middle grade, when I was in the middle grade kind of grade span, um, I was watching Sasuke in the Forest of Death breaking a dude's arms.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
fine. I was okay. Um, and I mean, even now, when you think about young readers today, there's stuff that scares me. Like Five Nights at Freddy's scares me.
Yeah, yeah.
Poppy Playtime scares me. And there are fifth graders walking around with like plushies of these homicidal anthropomorphic creatures. And they're like, yeah, I like it. This is my buddy. And I'm like, well, you tell him to stay away from me. How about that?
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like kids can always account for more than we claim. And I feel like graphic novels have to jump through, in my opinion, unnecessary hurdles when it comes to this type of stuff.
Mhm.
Because in prose, we do not have to deal with these things. Like I was in that fifth grade when I read a book called The Hatchet, that was about like someone trying to track down the dude that killed his dad or something. There was a hatchet involved, and he used it.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
remember going, well, this is kind of this is a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about stories like The K, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, there's some very like dark things
Hmm.
that are
Hmm.
happening in these books. I was reading these things in the fourth and fifth grade. So I feel like a fifth grader or a sixth grader certainly has the emotional depth to talk about their feelings.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's there. I think for me, if there's anything that I shifted for young readers, it's that it was very important to me to demonstrate that there was a light on the other side. It's
Hmm.
something that I would have done regardless, but I think the thing that makes Weirdo work as a book is that we never linger in the dark for too long. It's there so that you know it's there, but that's not our final destination, and it's not your final destination either. We got to keep moving till we find the positive things. And that's kind of I think that is a very large consideration that I had because again, there's some people that would write a graphic novel about overcoming depression and then it'd be 9 chapters of like, ooh, I'm sad.
Hmm.
And then like halfway through chapter 10, you get therapy. And then the prologue is like, I got therapy. And for
Right.
young readers, what I want to model for them is kind of what comes afterwards. I can give you all these tools and all these this kind of framework for self-love, but actually executing it, sticking with it even when it gets difficult, having
Hmm.
the confidence to stand in it and believe it, even when there are people that are telling you bad things about yourself. Those are the things that are the most important. Um, and I spend some time there.
That's awesome, and I love the creative vision, and also appreciating what you're saying about the journey after therapy because it is totally normal for there to be a journey after therapy as well and through therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anywhere that people can go to learn more about the work, to learn more about you, to check out information. And I know that pre-orders are up on Amazon, but I don't know that Amazon is always the best place to go. So any particular places that you would direct people? I think it's first, second. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, love some first, second. So
Ooh.
certainly on their website as well.
So I'm Tony Weaver Jr. on all platforms. Um, if you check my Instagram or my TikTok, you will find a link for Weirdo in that bio. If you Google Tony Weaver Jr. Weirdo or Weirdo Tony Weaver Jr., it'll pop up. We're on Barnes and Noble, we're on Amazon, we're on Bookshop. I think my big goal is kind of boosting those pre-order numbers and getting people pre-ordering and talking about the book as we move towards September 17th.
Love it, love it. Well, I hope folks out there will get the book for someone they love. And did we miss anything that you want to make sure to share before we close?
Um, I would say read Weirdo and look for the details. There are a lot of little tiny jokes and Easter eggs that I put in there that if you're a nerd, I feel like you'll catch it.
Nice, nice. Sort of like picking out the various objects behind you on the shelf. I love it. I love
Yes, very much
it.
so. Very much so. You see my influences. I am not shy about them.
That's awesome. Love it. Love it. Well, glad to have you back anytime, Tony, and thank you so much for the time and the creating.
Thank you.